today I'm going to talk about, the very general topics that I usually give talks to. It is the ecology and conservation status of sun bears in Malaysia. And I hope, that you find the information interesting. Okay, so can everybody see my slide okay?
Gonna start soon.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so, okay, so this is the opening slide. I would like to start by showing the distributions of sun bears. So in general, sun bears can be divided into two different subspecies. The mainland sun bears, called Hylarctos malayanus, are found on the mainland Asia, including West Malaysia and Sumatra. And then the Bornean sun bear, Hylarctos malayanus eurispilus, is the one found in Borneo, we call Bornean sun bear. And then the difference between the mainland sun bear and the Bornean sun bear is their size. Bornean sun bears is half the size of the mainland sun bear. Bornean sun bear's adult male is about 45 to 50 kilograms. And then for the mainland one, the Malayan sun bear, an adult male can grow up to like 80 or even 100 kilograms in places like Thailand. And then they are found across Southeast Asia. So this is the only true tropical bears that live in the tropic. They are range from eastern tip of India. India is very interesting because India have 4 different bear species. Eastern tip of India, southern tip of China, as you can see in Yunnan province in this map. And then Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam's peninsula of Malaysia, Sumatra, and Borneo. And then this map show you, so for Isuzu, are you going to admit those people? Okay, and then from this map, the red area is the extinct zone. Okay, bears used to be there but no longer there because of deforestation, because of hunting and poaching. And then green area is the one that we know there are bears here. So this map is an updated map from 2016 by the IUCN Bear Specialist Group. And then yellow is the area where possibly extinct, because the forest is there but no study. Okay, so from here you can see Indochina regions. Most of the Indochina region have a lot of red, means the bear has been wiped out. And then in Borneo, West Malaysia still got some green, which is a good news. And then I think for me, the last stronghold will be in Borneo because of the relatively large forest cover in this region. Okay, so IUCN listed sun bear as a vulnerable species. Vulnerable species. We do not know how many sun bears are there, and then the status of vulnerability of this vulnerable is based on the facts that this bears has been declined for more than 30% over the last. The population has been declined more than 30% over the last 30 years. So but for me, who have been working with the sun bear for so long, I think their number is very low, and their endangerment should even be higher because they are much more lower than the orangutans in islands of Borneo. And then the global populations, we seriously do not know. And last year, Peletan have announced that in West Malaysia, there are 300 to 500 sun bear left in entire West Malaysia. So this is a very worrying numbers. Looking at, you see, Malayan tigers, official number is about 200 animals, and then sun bears is not much better than the Malayan tiger, 300 to 500. So, and even until today, sun bears is the least known bear in the world. And then in terms of their legal protected status, in West Malaysia, sun bears is a totally protected species, okay, under the Wildlife Conservation Act 2010. And then in Sabah is also totally protected under the Wildlife Conservation Enactment 1997. And then in Sarawak is only listed as protected. So people can hunt sun bears in Sarawak with a license issued by the Sarawak Forestry Department. Whereas in Peninsula Malaysia and Sabah is totally protected. Nobody is allowed to hunt them, to keep them, to eat them, to do anything to, to harm them. So these are the difference. And then if we want to talk about the ecology of sun bears, the study of sun bears literally started from these three amigo. Of course, myself in the middle. This picture was taken in 1998. Yeah, when I first started my project in Sabah. And then the gentleman on the right-hand side is Mr. Fuyuki Nomura, a Japanese PhD student at the time studying sun bears in Tabin Wildlife Reserve. And then the lady on the left of the screen is Gabriela Frederiksen. She's a Dutch biologist working in Kalimantan. At first, she was here to study orangutans, and after that, started working with sun bears, and and there's no return after anybody working with sun bears. So these three, and then whoever have studied sun bears in Malaysia, Dr. Cheryl Chia has been studying sun bear in Krau Wildlife Reserve in 2010 until 2013 for his PhD with the University Putra Malaysia. And then she tried to, radio collar, capture wild bears, radio collar, and then study their ecology in Krau Wildlife Reserve, Pahang. And then a few other study after that with the UKM group, Mohammad Kamaruddin and Prof. Shuko and their team has been doing some sun bear works on rehabilitation of sun bear works, and also the conflict bears study. And these are some of the papers that they have been published. And then currently, a few years ago in Sabah, Roshan Guharajan has been studying sun bears in Kinabatangan region, looking at the habitat use, looking at the sun bears use plantations, and so on and so forth. And then, and then he also tried to trap sun bears and then put radio collar. But unfortunately, after a long time of trying, he managed to capture one, and then but the radio collar failed, so he did not get a lot of information from this radio collar sun bears. But in fact, he still got a lot of data and tried to look at how sun bear use oil palm plantations or damaging crops and that kind of issue. And this has been published. And then the last few years, Waipak, a master candidate from Sunway University, also studying sun bears at Bengkokak Peninsula in northern Sabah. And then his academic advisor is Dr. Shamala. And then Waipak used to be my research assistant, and also my right-hand man and my left-hand man when I run the Borneon Sun Bear Conservation Center. And after that, we have T. Tai Lim, also one of our staff doing his master. He just passed his master at Sunway University, looking at the sun bears population genetics, try to figure out ways to do this kind of population genetic study in Tabin. And then he just passed this master thesis, which is very, very good. And then for me, when I first started working with sun bears back in 1998, no one ever studied sun bears, so I have to try many things. And this is the generation number one kind of traps, try to trap sun bears. And then the design of this trap is a Wolverine traps. North America, they have this big mustelids called Wolverine. And then this is what the American trapper tried to trap them. The design is very, very similar. So it's a wooden box, and then inside there is bait, and then you see there's a bait, and then and then there's a stepping board, which when the animals want to take the bait at the end of this trap, you see inside this trap I put like cempedak lah, papaya lah, honey lah, oil palm seed lah, so a wide variety of choices for the bears to choose. And then but when they want to get this bait, they have to like step on that little plywood, and then it will trigger the locking device, and then the draw will drop, and bingo, we gonna get a bear. But unfortunately, in reality, it does not work like that. Sometimes I got a lot of Malaysia, like say for example over here. which is quite annoying when you have all kind of non-target species come and trip the trigger, and then at the end, once the door is closed, you won't have any chances to trap the bears if the bear come to check out the trap. And then I also built this kind of log trap in log oak forest, this kind of wooden log. Yeah, it looks very natural. I like it a lot. Looks like a small cabin. Again, this design is the Wolverine trap design. And then, yeah, so yeah. And then I also built this aluminum covert traps. This one is made in USA. It's a aluminum covert, very light alloy, aluminum alloy. And the beauty of this trap is that it can be taken apart into 9 pieces, and then we backpack it into the forest and then put it back together. And it, amazingly, it works even until today. After 22 years, we are still using this trap. It's not rusty. At the time, it cost us like $3,000 US, and then additional $1,000 US to ship this trap to US to Sabah. Yeah. So and then I also built some locally built this 55-gallon drum to trap the bears. Well, yeah. So the trapping is actually quite interesting one. I spent about 4 months trapping, and then finally I caught my very first one. This bear called Dali is a male adult on 22nd of June 1999. Yeah, and then so that literally kickstarted the whole study, because 4 months of trapping without any animals, a lot of researchers, a lot of friends asked me to like study insect instead, forget about bears because I'm not going to catch one. After catching Dali, I capture other bears. This is Lucky, and then and so on and so forth. So at the end, for my master project, I totally capture 6 sun bears. 6 sun bear, and then I put radio collar. I put radio collar. I take blood sample and blah blah. And because I have a diploma on veterinary and also training on large mammal trapping, especially bears, I do all of the animal handling myself in the field. So it's quite handy that I can do all of that without an assistant from a vet on the ground. So some of the pictures, yeah. And then, so my master lasted from 1998 until 2000. I spent about 2.5 years in the field. And then after that, in 2002, I passed my master, and then I continued with my doctorate, working with bears and pigs on the ground. And then I come back again in 2005 and do the sun bear trapping, pig trapping again. And then trapping a bears is challenging. Tracking down a bears in the rainforest is even more challenging because, the terrain, is so harsh, the rains, the pacha, the mud, and it's all difficult, but it's not impossible, okay? And then finally, after, years and years of working in the field, we managed to gather some very interesting information about the sun bears. Yeah. So in total, I spent 6 years in the forest, and my study area is at Danum Valley Field Center, stationed at Danum Valley Field Center, and then my study area is the Danum Valley Conservation Area and the adjacent Ulu Segama Forest Reserve. So sun bears is my topic. So sun bear is also called dog bear, for Chinese koshong, and then Malay name beruang madu because they love beruang, because they love madu, honey bears. And then it's very interesting because all of them have this very unique chest patch. Let's say, for example, I'm wearing our t-shirt, chest patch t-shirt. Yeah, and then this chest patch is unique. There's no 2 bears have the same kind of chest patch. And then one of the reasons why they are called sun bears is because some of the chest patch come in all different kind of shapes, including the shapes of a solar eclipse. A few 2 weeks ago, last week, we have a solar eclipse. Yeah. So it looks something like that, round shape, and then with the ray coming out, if you can imagine how it looks like. Okay, and then and I think one of the function of this chest pad, I think it play a warning sign to the other animals in the forest, because when sun bear live in the dense tropical forest, they often sniff on the ground all the time. And then whenever they smell or they sense something danger, they would stand up and then raise their head high up, you know, and then tarik nafas, sniff, 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 and pick up the scent at the same time, presented the chest patch. You'll be amazed, a black color large mammal in the forest, sometimes the black color is just a very good camouflage. But when they stand up and presented the chest patch with a black background, it is very obvious that the animals, the bears are there. It's like, you know, a warning sign to the others, say, hey, I'm here, don't mess around with me. So I think these signs do have some functions for the bears. Yeah, just just like that, you can see these two bears. The one on the right is a Malayan sun bear from Peninsula Malaysia. The one on the left is a Borneon sun bear. You know, can you tell the two difference? From a trained eye, actually, like for me, you know, after seeing so many bears, I can tell, I can see from the appearance that this is a mainland sun bears or this is a Borneon sun bears. Yeah. And then they are the smallest bear in the world, you know, like I mentioned just now. Adult male for the Borneon subspecies is about 45 to 50 kilograms. And then although they are the smallest bear in the world, but there are other body parts that is big. Say, for example, their claw. Their claw is huge, and this claw is very interesting. It grow throughout the whole life. The older the bears, the bigger the claw. See, for example, this was my left hand, and I take this picture with my cell phone. You can see how big is this claw. This bear is Amako, one of our old bear. He is 28 years old. So a 28 years old Borneon sun bear claw can be as big as this one over here. Yeah, so don't mess around with the sun bear, although their size is relatively small. Yeah, and then they use their claws as a tool to like rip apart decayed wood, rip apart termite nests for feeding and so on. So yeah, so you can see this. And another very interesting feature about these bears is that their skin color, you know, their skin tissue for the bears is very different from other bear species. On the pictures of the right is a brown bears from Alaska. It's an Alaskan brown bear's paw, well, if you are low 48 states, it's grizzly bear. And then you can see the other bears species, their paw usually is black, very, very black and very thick skinned. And then, but for the sun bear, it's just like your hand and my hand. And sometimes you can see there are like lines, you know, just like my paws over here. So for a Chinese fortune teller, you can tell, oh, this bear got a good life, have how many wives and how many kids and so on and so forth. So it's quite interesting. And then they have huge canine. You know, these canines are, again, if compared to other bear species relative to their size, sun bear have the biggest canine compared to other bear species, you know. So they use their canine to chew apart wood, chew apart decayed wood, including my traps. This is one of my wooden box traps that I use to trap bears, and I caught the bears. At the end, this is what they do to my traps. Metal traps look something like this. You will chew through the metal trap as well. So this is not one time, not two times. This is many times. This trap was made by Dr. Cheryl Chia. Interestingly, you know, if you don't have a good design, if they can have a place to put their mouth, they will chew through it. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. Yeah. Yeah, this is their skull. Their skull doesn't look like a typical bear, but it looks like a typical cat's skull because their zygomatic arch is very, very big. And then there's a big jaw muscle going through their cheekbone over here. Yeah, and then which means that their bite force is very, very strong. And then beside that, they also have very long tongue. This tongue not only long, but it's also very sticky. Okay, very sticky to stick out food items like honey, like termite, like ants, and then so it's a feeding tool for the bears. And then in hot weather, the bears also stick out their tongue and pen just like dogs. So this is also a very good body parts that can cool their body down. Very important in these tropical climates that they are living in. The habitat types of sun bears is literally any kind of forest types is considered as sun bears habitat. Let me explain to you a little bit more. And then in general, their habitat type can be, you know, grouped into two groups. The seasonal tropical forest is in Asia mainland, north of the Isthmus of Kra, north of West Malaysia, this area, these forests are seasonal tropical forests where they have a very distinct dry forest, dry season and wet season. Whereas in Borneo, Sumatra, and also West Malaysia, the forests are aseasonal. This is an evergreen rainforest, high humidity, high rainfall, and high solar radiation throughout the whole year. So the forest is always green and lush. Yeah, and this is the prime habitat for the sun bears in our country or in these regions. Okay, and this is extremely very diverse. As you know, we all know that this is one of the biodiversity hotspots, and then very important for the survival. And sun bears is considered as a forest dependent species. They live in the forest, so the amount of forest reflects on the amount of habitat that they have. And then, however, today's our landscape looks something like this. You know, forest has been selectively logged if it is still forest, and then so those forests are no longer forests. It converted into agriculture use, oil palm plantation, rubber plantation, acacia tree, and so on and so forth. And then, surprisingly, we see sun bears are very robust. Means that they can survive in all different kind of landscape as long as they can find food. You know, including this is a picture of an acacia plantation, and then within that acacia plantation, there is a small patch of secondary forest, and the bears are there. You know, this is the site. This is a picture that I took, and then on that particular day, days, we actually found a bears in this patch of forest. Yeah, so this is that acacia plantations, and then behind there, and in the background where there is a patches of uneven tree canopy, those are the secondary forests. So it's quite amazing that they can tolerate this kind of human disturbance. And then in Kinabatangan regions, riparian area, there are bears in this kind of forest. Yeah, so all of this, as long as they can find food, even Nipa swamp forest, we found bears there. And then this is very quite surprisingly because to find bears in this habitat. And then when we investigate this habitat, I found that there's actually many bear food like this is Bonipa, this is the atapchi. In West Malaysia, we all like to eat it in our ABC. If we human like to eat it, so does the bear. So the bear would love to eat this kind of thing. And then beside in this kind of Nipa swamp forest, there's all kind of snail lah, all kind of clams lah, and the bears would easily eat them as well. Yeah. So in terms of their distributions across Malaysia, after I discuss, what kind of habitat types that they can find, in general, it's all kind of forest. As long as they can find food, as long as they're not being hunted down to extinction, there are bears there. And then a few years ago, this is a paper by Mona Naziri using this modeling mapping maximum entropy. She studied West Malaysia and then look at the distributions of this Malaysians, Peninsula Malaysia, and then looking at the suitable habitat types of this bear. And when you look at this map, the red area is highly suitable, green area is marginal, yeah, and then you can see that there's actually not much places where sun bears are suitable live in West Malaysia. And then nowadays, yeah, and then also many area that the bears are found, or the bears or the suitable habitat for the bears are actually outside the protected area. From the map on the left hand side, you can see all of that areas that was enclosed are the protected area, that was shaded off are protected area. And then so a lot of the forests are like productive forests, yeah, and yeah, so there is an implication of their conservation, because this area, all of them has to be protected if we want to secure the future of the sun bears. And then in Sabah, Roshans and a bunch of researchers, me also included, have come up with this, also do a very similar method and trying to come up with a model, to predict what kind, which and where is a good habitat for sun bears in Sabah. And then, so this is a paper that we are submitting for publication lately. So hopefully it will publish soon. And then you can see, in this area, a lot of the suitable habitats are concentrated on the still forested area, especially the central Sabah forest complex like Danang Valley, Mala Basin, Mala Basin, and then Kinabalu Park, Crocker Range Park, and then southern Sabah. And also on the right hand side, there's one island stick up, which is the Tabin Wildlife Reserve. Okay. When we talk about sun bears, ecologies and biology, we have to talk about, our forest. Our forest is actually very unique because our forests do not fruits in an annual cycle. Our forests it's not like our durian, every year there is a durian season, one or two types. But our forests, the forests of Borneo, Sumatra, and West Malaysia, our forests go through this mass fruiting cycle. These are synchronized general flowering, start with flowering, and then after 3 months after that, general fruiting. So they do not fruit in an annual cycle. Instead, they fruit in a supra-annual cycle. Means that this year fruited, the next fruiting years is 4 years, 6 years, or 11 years from this year. So in between, there's hardly any fruits in the forest except for trees like fig trees, like oak trees. They do fruits and not participate in this mass fruiting. And then, of course, bears is a very opportunistic feeder. They would take advantage of all of these fruits that's available to them. Yeah. So this picture is a Sepilok Forest Reserve during the general flowering. You can see all this cauliflower canopy crown actually flowers, and many of them are dipterocarp trees. And then for those of you who haven't experienced mass fruiting, you should go and experience the mass flowerings or mass fruiting, because it's a spectacular events in our forest. Unfortunately, we did not learn much about our forest from school, which is quite a shame. Yeah, and then so during the interval of 4 years, 6 years, when the forest mass fruiting, there's a lots of fruits available. Yeah, lots of fruits available, and then the bears, as an omnivore, would take advantage of eating all kind of fruits available. It's like say the wild durian lah, the persimmons lah, the atocarpus lah. Anyway, so all of these are bear food. Anything that can be eaten as a food, bears will eat it. And then it is not surprised that they are not selective at all. They are general. Whatever that is available, they will eat it. So so this is a graph from this from Gabriela Frederickson's, and then when during the masting year, when there are some fruits trees are masting, the bears will eat the masting species, and then outside the masting year, the bears will feed on whatever the non-masting species. Yeah. And then for a bear per se, every year the fruits that they eat is also different. It's all dependent on availability in the forest. Yeah, unlike other bear species, which their food is very, very, very predictable every year. And then okay, and then they are opportunistic feeder. I have a questions here. So do BSPCC have both species of sun bear? No, we only have one subspecies of sun bear, which is the Borneon sun bear. We can only take bears from Sabah only. Anyway, so continue my talk. Then about the other very important food source is actually ficus. Fig tree. Fig tree is considered as a keystone species in our forest ecosystem, where the definition of keystone species is few individual of that particular species have a wide effect on other species. Okay, again, few individuals, so small biomass, low biomass, but the impact on other species is huge. So it's considered as keystone species. So ficus is a keystone species. So this especially during the time when it is a non-fruiting year. So when it is non-fruiting years, all the animals that eat fruits in the forest will eat figs, because that's the only thing that is available to them. The figs are so important because they are available year-round. They produce large crop size. Some of the strangling fig can produce up to 2 million fruits at one time. And then in addition, they are high in nutritional value, like high calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, and everything else. And then so when the forests do not, for some reason, the fig do not fruits, then the bears are in trouble. And then back in 1999 and 2000, I recorded a famine famine in the forest, where sun bears and bearded pig starved to death in a very odd number, very rare, rare event. And then from this picture, 3 different bears come to feed on same fruiting fig trees. Yeah. So what you see is that you see behind the background is actually a big buttress of a dipterocarp tree. And then there are 2 smaller medium-sized trees. Those are the fig trees. So bears would climb that fig tree all the way up to the crown. Yeah, and then feed on the fruits directly from the tree. They will harvest, they would pluck like hornbills, harvest or pluck fig up high on top of the trees. Yeah, and then in fact, this particular tree is the one that I saw a bears high on top of tree. The first time I realized that, whoa, bears can climb was on this tree, 40 meters above the ground. And then from my fecal analysis, I also found that ficus, consists of a major food sources, food types that the sun bear feed on. Very important. So every time I come across a strangling fig or fig tree, I would check on their tree trunk, and then most often the time I will find claw marks on this claw. Means that a bear has been here. The bear climbed the trees all the way to the top of the tree and harvest the fruits. Yeah, so very important. So as I mentioned earlier, when if figs for some reason fail to fruit, then the bears are in trouble. These are some of the very skinny or emaciated pictures of sun bears that I studied back in 1999 and 2000, and camera trap pictures also show the same thing. Another very important food source of the sun bears is oak. Yeah. Quakers, little carpers from this family Fagaceae, and the family Fagaceae do not follow this mass fruiting, so they fruit every 2 years or so. So when they fruit, all the bears, all the pigs will be like following this little patches of fruiting trees in the forest. Very important. So many people have asked me, why we need to protect sun bears. I said because they play many important ecological roles. So when sun bear feed on a lot of fruits, they ingest the seed. Fruit itself is a reward. The flesh, what you wear, like say for example, when we eat papaya, yeah, the fruit itself is a reward. The reward for what? Reward for from the tree to reward for the animals who come and eat my fruit, eat my fruits. At the same time, swallow the seed, and then please carry the seed far away from me is a mother tree, yeah. And then, so many studies have shown that the further away the bears being, the further away the seed being carried far away from the mother tree, the higher the chances of survival. So sun bears, as a large mammal capable of swallowing a lot of seeds, including big seeded tree species like durian. So when we eat durian, we don't swallow the seed, isn't it? But for sun bears, when they eat wild durian, the wild durian is a lot smaller than our, Mosangking la, Holo la, blackthorn la, Anghe la, yeah. So they do swallow the seed, and then the seed carried by the bears, pass through their digestive tract after a few hours, come out as a poo, and the poo have seed, and then they start germinate. So that process is called seed dispersal. So in other words, sun bears are very important forest planter. They plant the forest, they plant the trees in the forest. So very important. Yeah. And then besides fruits, sun bears also feed on a wide variety of invertebrates. Yeah, invertebrates like beetles, beetle larvae, termite, nests, whatever that move in the forest is barefoot. Yeah, say for example, termite. And termites are very important food sources for the bears, although they are small, but they can come out in quite a large quantity. And one group of termite, this group Microcerotermes, are known to attack live trees. So when sun bear feed on this group of termites, actually control the termite population from exploding, from become so many and kill many trees at one time. So in other words, sun bears make sure the forest is healthy. So they are considered as forest doctor, to make sure that this group of termite population do not explode and have an outbreak and then kill many trees at one point. So very important roles in the forest doctor. And then another kind of food that sun bear love to eat is honey. Just like I mentioned that sun bear is also called as beruang madu. They love to feed on the madu. And then one group of madu, the picture on the top are from the stingless bee. Stingless bee built their nest inside a hollow tree trunk. And then when sun bear found this hollow tree trunk with stingless beehive, the lulut, yeah, they love the honey. They climb up to the trees and then they would use their big claws, very strong canine, and start chewing on the tree trunk. And this is exactly what they do to my wooden box trap. Remember the picture that I showed you earlier? The same thing that they do, you know, eventually after, yeah, they climb the tree with their very strong claws and then manage to get hold of the beehive. Yeah, just like that. Amazing, amazing, you know. Yeah, amazing. And then the story does not end here. After a few years, you know, this cavity is being, you know, slowly closed up to a point where hornbills, you know, find it useful as nests. So sun bears build nests for other species of wildlife in the forest, like hornbills, like flying squirrels. So they are considered as forest engineer by making nests for other species. A forest with bear and the forest without bear is a very different forest. And then this study actually is shown by Pillai Ponswat in southern Thailand, where several hornbill nests that Dr. Pillai Ponswat found is actually excavated by the sun bears a few years earlier. So it's quite amazing. Yeah, and then beside that, sun bear love to eat everything, including earthworm. So they do a lot of digging, a lot of plowing soil, you know, on the ground. And then sometimes they fish out a big earthworm. Sometimes they fish out a big Carcosoma, the three-horned beetle's larva. Yeah, so they are like digger, you know, forest farmer who plow the soil and then enhance the soil nutrient cycle and all and all. And let me show you, this is a video, yeah, that's taken by Thailim. You know, this is bears rubbing his head against a tree with duct tape. So Thailim want to collect bear hairs, and then what he did is do this is to smear this tree trunk with belacan, smelly, and then have this duct tape tucked on the tree trunk. And then bears come and, you know, smell the belacan. They get excited. You know, the belacan for bears is Chanel No. 5 perfume. Yeah. And then what is very interesting is this bird. Is this bird? You know, this is a Borneon ground cuckoo, a Borneon endemic, and it seems like it's very peacefully, it's very calm. You know, just beside a bears, the bears can easily eat these birds. Yeah, seems like the birds are not being bothered by the bears at all. So what's going on? So we think that sun bears is a food provider in the forest. Every time when sun bear feed on a decayed wood or a termite nest, there's always something left behind. And then so animals like pheasants, like Borneon ground cuckoo, like bearded pigs, like shama. You know, at our center you can actually see the shama or the Java myna following the bears for feeding opportunities. So they are a food provider, very important. So all in all of these reasons are the ecological roles played by the sun bears, so very, very important. And then other than that, everything that you see in the forest that move is sun bear food, literally. Yeah, like snails, locan, siput, you know, even tortoises, they eat meat, you know, but they're not a good predators. So they eat slow moving meat in the forest, like tortoises. This is a Burmese brown tortoise. Yeah, sun bear eat it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the and then looking at the their habitat again, lowland deep tropical forest is very important. And this forest is, you know, our forest is amazing. They are so tall. You know, average canopy height 50 meters tall, and then in Borneo the tallest tree is 100.8 meters tall. You know, so animals live in this forest, adapt to this kind of forest, and make good use of this forest canopy. And for sun bear, as the smallest bear in the world, they can start to climb trees high on top from the ground. And then on the tree canopy is a different world out there. They can feed up there, they can sleep up there. You know, they can do a lot of things like I mentioned, you know, feeding on stingless beehive, and then so all of that, resting, sleeping, you know. So this is the video of a bears. If you haven't seen a bear climb a tree, let me show you. This will like oops, sorry, where is the cursor? Oh, here. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a big deep tropical tree. It's a Parasauria. And then this tree measures about 50 meters tall. And this is one of the bears that climbed that tree. And then, yeah, they just use their claw, very, very sharp and strong, climb themselves like a spider bear, and then climb up to the tree, and then, yeah, and then sleep high on top of tree. Yeah, very, 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 very interesting behaviors. You know, so they sleep on tree like that. Sometimes they build nests, you know, and all of these are not known before that. You know, they build nests like orangutan nests. Yeah. And then, so this was again another picture taken from our centers, bears on the trees. If I can rename a sun bears, I will probably call them a tree bear, you know, yeah. And they are very interesting, yeah. And then, can they swim? Yes, they can swim. They can swim, yeah, they can swim. So sun bear can swim. The pictures on the right is taken from Lake Temenggor, you know, like, and then a video on the left over here is actually sun bear swim. Tilted a little bit in Kinabatangan River. Yeah. Okay, so I'll continue about the ecology, and I'll answer your question later on. Okay, so what about the places where they sleep? You know, where they rest, and also where they give birth is all of this big tree, hollow tree log, very, very important, serve as a den site, as a nesting site for the bears. Yeah, very important, especially for female want to give birth. They have to find this kind of fallen hollow tree top in the forest. Yeah, and then give birth, raise cubs, and then this kind of micro habitat is very important, because in a rainforest is relatively dry, and then in a very, very hot climates, you know, sometimes this hollow is quite cool as well. Yeah. What about the activities? So for my study, sun bears are diurnal species, you know, active in the daytimes and then inactive during the nighttime. But in area where they live adjacent to a lot of human disturbance, they can switch the activity to nocturnal activities. Yeah, and about home range. So a typical male home range from our study is about 20 square kilometers, you know, and female is a slightly smaller, 4 to 5 square kilometers. And then, and then this is from Cheryl study of 5 adult male bear, and then the home range of these 5 adult male bear range from 17.4 square kilometers to almost 50 square kilometers. So they can range a large area if they wanted to. Yeah. Okay, so I have one question. Lifespan of Bornean sun bear. Okay, so in the wild for bears, if they can, oh, actually, I'm going to talk about this. Yeah, so lifespan over here for sun bears is, I estimated 12 to 15 years. So if they can live for like 13, 14, 15, that is considered quite a long time already. And then very interestingly, and very important about their conservation is their reproduction rate. Their reproduction rate is very, very slow. Okay, they reach their sexual maturity at the age of 4, and then gestation period typically lasts 3 months, and then they give birth usually 1 cubs or so, and then cub raised by mom up to 3 to 4 years. And then if you do the calculation, lifespan 12 to 15 years, did not breed until they reach 4 years old, and then they take care of their cubs until 3 to 4 years old. So for female bears, if they can produce 3 to 4 cubs in her lifetime, that is considered as very, very productive. So with this very slow reproduction rate, they cannot withstand any kind of human caused mortality at all. You know, and then in addition, they have to like face food shortages, competition with other bears. You know, because of food competition is food shortage or food productivity is very low. They have very high competitions with other bears. So in the wild, it is they live in a bear kills bear world. And also they face predation in West Malaysia. Dr. Kai Cornish, she has been documented many tiger feces that she collected have sun bear hairs. And then, so tiger prey on sun bears. And then also, and then many years ago, we have a documented case of a 7 meters reticulated python kill a full-grown adult female and swallow that adult female bear's whole. Yeah, it takes the snake 2 months to digest. And then on top of that, they also suffer from like diseases that we do not know nothing about, and then also parasite. Yeah, so they live in a very, very difficult world. Okay, so I'm at 40, 50 minutes now. I'll try to answer all of these questions later. Let's talk about this conservation. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, sun bears is a forest-dependent species that live in the forest. Okay, and then the amount of forest reflects on the amount of habitat they have. But unfortunately, what happened to our forests is a lot of them being chopped down, and the deforestation rate. I think all of us know how much forest left in our country, and then and logging is unfortunately still ongoing, although it is slowing down quite considerably over the last few years or so, because right now, like say in Sabah, the forest that can be logged already being logged, you know. And then there's small scale of deforestation going on for, like say, Musang King plantation in Pahang, in Kelantan, which is quite sad to hear. And then so all of these forest patches that we still have in West Malaysia, for example, are a very important sun bear habitat. And therefore, if you look at the issue of global climatic change, the loss of biodiversity, endangered species and so on, and also, this forest as a biodiversity hotspot, as a water catchment area, all of our forests are so important. And right now, especially try to combat all this global climatic change. It's so important. And right now we got the COVID pandemic, all of these forests, we have to leave them alone, leave them alone, and leave them alone. There's no question asked about it. Yeah, same thing with Borneo as well. Borneo lost about 50% of the total forest cover over the last 60 years or so. And then, so this are all, ongoing and on and on and on. And then, so like say, for example, in Sabah, we still maintain about 50% of the total land area as forested. And the governments want to keep 30% of this forest as totally protected forest. And then which is a very, very high commitment, which is a good commitment. I hope they, right now we are at 27% of the totally protected area in Sabah. And then on this map, about 30%, the black area are the oil palm plantation. Yeah, 30% land cover to the oil palm plantation. And when oil palm coming in, cover the landscape, change the landscape, and then bears, you'll be amazed that there are still a lot of bears live in this kind of landscape, forested, adjacent to oil palm plantation. They love these kind of places. They will come up because oil palm, produce satisfaction guarantee, all you can eat food for the bears. And then, so most of the time they would spend the daytimes in the forest hiding, and then nighttime they come out to feed on the oil palm seed. But when they come out to the oil palm plantation, they encounter hunters or poachers who hunt for pigs. But when they encounter bears, they would not hesitate to pull the trigger. So in other words, this kind of oil palm plantations, serve as an ecological sink for the bears. When they come out, they got poached, and then the bears that live in the forest interior will take over the home range of the bears that live adjacent to the oil palm plantations. And then when they learn to exploit the oil palm plantation for the oil palm seed, they go out and then they got killed again. And then with the reproduction rate is so slow, eventually they got wiped out. So this is called start with local extinction, then expand to regional extinction, and finally species extinction, country extinction and so on. So for us, oil palm issue, we all know we have no choice but to support for the Sustainable Palm Oil Initiative. And then another threat, bear gallbladder are used as a traditional Asian medicines. It's not only the traditional Chinese medicine, but it should be considered as traditional Asian medicine, because there's all kind of, almost all Asian ethnicity use bear gallbladder as traditional medicine, and therefore they have been used. And Traffic Southeast Asia have done a lot of survey about bear bowels, selling in local traditional Chinese medicine shops. You'll be amazed that there are still many, even until lately, they found there's still a lots of traditional Chinese medicine shops sell gallbladder. And this is a 2015 report, and it shows that 48% of the shops that they survey confirm selling bear bowels products. So this is quite an alarming rate as well. Bears as a large mammals, they got a lot of meat. Bear paws is considered as delicacy for a lot of the Chinese. So bears are being slaughtered, being eaten up. Yeah, these pictures are all taken from Sarawak, where sun bears sometimes still being chopped up into pieces and then sell in local market. So every time when this kind of thing happen, we will alert the authority, because it is absolutely illegal to eat sun bears or being display sun bears or sell bear sun bears openly in the market. Yeah, so there has been more violations, and sometimes they got catch, they got prosecuted, and then sometimes to jail, which is good. And then but there are a small group of people still learn to showing off their kill sun bears in Facebook, yeah, and so on and so forth. So okay, so let's go real quick about hunting issue, how people kill sun bears using snares. This is a bears, they got snares on the leg. Yeah, snares are very, very devastating because it does not discriminate what kind of animal can be captured. Yeah, this picture was taken in Crow Wildlife Reserve in 2011 when I helped Dr. Cheryl Chia to trap her bears, and then we caught this beruang kudung, three-legged bear. Why beruang kudung? Because she was snared by a snare, and the bears have to like chew off his paw in order to escape. And surprisingly, he managed to survive, but three-legged. You know, it's a very serious issue. And then 2 weeks before that, she caught another bear with 2 snares wound, back leg snare wound, front leg snare wound. So this bear has been snared twice. Yeah, three-legged bears camera trap by this is from Wong Ming in Sumatra, three-legged. And WWF Malaysia also have pictures. Mark Ryan also have pictures of three-legged sun bears in West Malaysia. So it's a very serious issue. You know, not just sun bears. Elephant is become victims as well. Look at the trunk of this elephant. Got a hole. Baby elephant. Tiger, this is from West Malaysia. Even rhino. This is a three-legged rhino. This is Puntong, three-legged rhino from Tabin, and she got snared. You know, so all of these are still happening. You know, in the past it was quite a bit, and right now things slightly improve, but you know, not so much. Yeah, it's quite worrying, and with the hunting and poaching issue. Okay, so okay, what am I? So this picture of this Kayan tribe girls during a traditional ceremony. What she's wearing is sun bear canine on her neck. You know, sun bear canine on her neck. The headset is not sun bears; it's clouded leopard canine. Very impressive. Very impressive. How many clouded leopard canine? Yeah, in order to, how many clouded leopard that they need in order to make that headset? You know, you tell me. Bear claws being sold openly in the market in Kuching, 150 ringgit a piece. Anybody want souvenirs? There you go, 150 ringgit. And then when we built roads create problems to the bears. You know, just like our tapir being run down by vehicles, so is the sun bear. So a few cases, sun bear was victims of a roadkill. Bears are being very cute. Their cuteness also cause problem because people want to keep sun bears as pets. I know how cute they are because I have handled one, bottled one. And then all of these cute sun bears that you see in the market, you know, at one time, their mother has been killed. And then so the hunters would not hesitate to pull trigger when they encounter female bears with cub. So kill the bears, kill the mother, and then take the babies, and then yeah, raise as pets. Oh, so cute, you know. And of course, our very famous case last year, if you still recall, condominium sun bears in Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, it show you how serious is this issue. And if we don't stop this, you know, these few people would actually literally kill off our sun bear population. Yeah, Facebook has become a tool to advertise their sale, you know. Yeah, seremban, anak beruang, PM atau WhatsApp, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so all of this, yeah, luckily nowadays, this kind of thing is under control now, but sometimes still once in a while, still see, you know, one. So it's a big problem for all of that, you know, and then when they are killed, when they are not killed, when they grow back, they are not killed. So this is their life, literally. Yeah, this is their life, literally. Okay. Yeah, and then some of them, their claw has been declawed, and then so yeah, so when the sun bears live in the small cages, this is life in hell, literally, you know. And then and because of that, I founded the Borneon Sun Bear Conservation Center in 2008. And people ask me why I founded the Sun Bear Conservation Center. I said I experienced the two extremes. One extreme is how wonderful they live as a wildlife in our vast, majestic forest. But on the other hand, when I come out from the forest has been cleared, they are being poached, you know, baby bears are being captured, and then when they grow up, they live in small cages. So we have to help them as much as possible. So this project was partnered with Sabah Wildlife Department, Sabah Forestry Department, and NGO called LEAP, which I founded in Sabah. Some of you have been to the center, so some of you who haven't been, hopefully when this MCO is gone, this COVID-19 pandemic is gone, you can come and visit us. So in the first few years, our focus on this improve animal welfare, education, research, and rehabilitations. And then after that, I am a greedy person. I added in a few more pillars that we work on. So after 2014, when we opened to the public, we incorporated ecotourisms in our pillars, community conservations, and this year we start our anti-poaching program, and then in the future, land acquisitions, captive breeding, and so on and so forth. Why we have to do all of this? Because it's all interconnected. It's very, very important, because if I choose to do one or choose the easiest one to do it, it will not solve the problem. It will not save sun bear. It will not conserve sun bear. So I have to do everything. And then ecotourism is such an important thing that feel, you know, that provide funding to make everything possible. Yeah. So our center right now have 30 full-time staff divided into several department or unit. Yeah. And then we are located in Sanakan, Sepilo. Our area is about 5 hectares of half of 5 hectares of land. Half of it is forested land under the Sepilo Kabili Forest Reserve. And then we have 2 bear houses that can accommodate about 40 bears. And then we have 1 visitor centers. This is a picture of our bear house constructions. Yeah. So if you visit our center, you will see all of this lah. Yeah, so our observation platform. Oh, okay. So the picture on the left, that gentleman wearing a blue cap is Thomas Lovejoy. If you know who he is, who Thomas Lovejoy is. Yeah. So Thomas Lovejoy is one of the very father of biodiversity. You know, of tropical biodiversity. So it's Thomas Lovejoy. Yeah, visiting here. Our center have David Attenborough and many famous people visited. So people can enjoy and see bears in a natural environment. All of our bears are rescue bear. So this is a drone pictures. Backgrounds are our forest enclosure. And then the 2 bear houses on the right, and then our visitor center on the left-hand side, and also office as well. Yeah. So we opened to the public 2014. People come and see bears, and then we work with the Sabah Wildlife Department, Wildlife Rescue Unit to rescue all of the captive bears in Sabah. So right now we are very proud to say that we have eliminated all of the pets bears in Sabah, and all this, you know, private zoo la, crocodile farm la, all of the captive bear are at our center right now. So with us, 12 years, we have rescued 61 bears. Right now, 43 bears still at our center, 8 being released, 9 death, and then 1 escaped. Oops. Yeah. That's a different story. Okay, so we got bears that come in all different kind of shapes, you know, age, they need a lot of work to do, you know, take care of them and traumatize, and it's a long process. We literally try to be a bear mother to take care of all of them. So these are the pictures of the bears the first day when they come out from the den, from the bear house into the forest enclosure. It's always a big days for all of us who spend so much work and time to try to help them to recover this damage from humans capturing and killings and then keeping and so on. Yeah. And then we also run education programs, and these are all of our sponsors, our partners, our yeah. And then it's the good thing about the center is that we can welcome kids come, you know, visitors, school kids come, we can tell them the story about the bears. For those bears, for those school that cannot come to us, we visit a school, do education outreach program. These are the statistics, yeah. And then we also conduct research program with various university, either study bears in-house or also study bears in the wild as well. We also run a volunteer program and also internship program. So far, we have close to more than 4,000 volunteers and interns come and help up with our at our center, yeah, internship program. So if you are looking for internship program, well, you might want to check us out. It's actually quite popular. And then finally, rehabilitation. So we have been releasing 7 bears back into the forest so far, and yeah, next week we're going to release another bear. Yeah, so it's quite an exciting moments after all these years, you know. So so these are the pictures of us releasing bears in Tabin, you know, chartering a helicopter. It cost me 50,000 ringgit to charter that helicopter for one morning. Yeah, 1 hour right now, the hourly rate is about 9,000 ringgit an hour to charter the helicopter. So it's expensive. It's a very expensive operations. Yeah, so we do that, and then this was last year when we released 3 bears at the same time in Tabin Wildlife Reserve. And then that day, you know, Dame Judi Dench, if you know who Dame Judi Dench is, she is the M in James Bond movie. Yeah, also come along with us, and then make a documentary called Judi Dench Borneo Adventure. Yeah, pretty interesting. So all of the bears are fitted with a satellite collar. Then we can, you know, monitor their movement. We can monitor where they're about and how they end up and so on. Ecotourism is something that we work on after we open to the public, and 2014 is very important. Something that I try to promote is this conservation ecotourism, where one of the product of conservation is to promote ecotourisms, and ecotourisms help, you know, boost local economy and then generate revenues for the local people, for the state, for the countries, and then it create an incentive for the governments to protect our wildlife and wild places. So it's very important. But unfortunately, right now with the COVID-19, we know that the ecotourism are extremely vulnerable, and this is not just Malaysia; it's across the world. Yeah, so we have to make sure that, you know this kind of virus outbreak. Make sure that the wildlife is always stay wild and not trying to, you know, eat them, harm them, or capture them, or keep them as pets. Yeah, very important. Yeah, our country is beautiful, beautiful, and people come here to enjoy our nature, forest, sea, mountain view, wildlife, and so on. Yeah, it is an alternative to logging and other kind of natural resources exploitation. Community conservation is very important. You know, we have to work with them. In the past, I worked with the Forever Sabah team to train local youngsters to do entrepreneurship, and also train them on, you know, try to find a livelihood in their kampong. Anti-poaching is something very, very big and something so real. And then we have to work on this as much as possible. So right now we are working with Pantera to establish an anti-poaching team, you know, together with Roshan. And then hopefully it will be our starting of our anti-poaching team. And right now we're also getting funding from Germany to do anti-poaching work as well. So that's the future plan. This is something that we are working on. I hope, you know, we can successful to establish Tabin as a research site, rehabilitation site for sun bears, and then hopefully. In the wild, in the future, we no longer needs to rehabilitate sun bears. Yeah, so sun bears always stay wild. And yeah, for me, I'm a wildlife biologist. I want bears to live in the wild, not in captivity. Okay, so almost the end. How you can help sun bears? You know, you can help us spread the words easily. Like right now, everybody was online. Like have Facebook, share the story, become our volunteers, help us fundraising. There's a lot of things to do, and I always tell people, do what you do best to help us. Okay, and finally, this is my final slide. And then for those of you who do not know, I have a biography launched 3 weeks ago. Yeah, this is my story. If you want to learn the long versions of Wong's story, buy this book from our shops, and then visit our website at www.bsbcc.org.my and to learn all about our work. With that, I thank you very much for your attention.